Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Dramaology podcast. In this episode, I am covering Boksoon, a recently aired Korean movie that came out on Netflix. And the reason why I decided to cover this particular movie is because I actually think it's very good. I enjoyed it a lot. And so if you've not watched this movie, you should know that I don't give spoiler-free reviews. Like, I do have spoilers in my reviews, so spoiler alert if you've not seen this movie, check it out first before you listen to this review. But yeah, so I had seen this movie and the trailer on YouTube a while ago, and I knew I was interested in watching it because it looked very interesting. And so when my cousin told me it had aired, I went to check it out immediately. So yeah, this drama, Boksoon, is a drama that basically follows the life of Boksoon. And I see the pun they are playing there with the name. But yeah, it follows the life of Boksoon, and she's basically this assassin in like this world that's very interesting, and I'll talk about the world later. But she lives in this world where like to be an assassin is a career choice. Right, it's something you aspire to be, right? And so she's one of the best, and this basically follows her life and shows us like the world she's living in and the trials and tribulations she has to face, because she also has a teenage daughter, and teenage girls can be difficult. And so for how badass she is, she still has to be a mom to this daughter. And yeah, so that's what this movie is about. It has a lot of action, it has a lot of gore, and it's not like, if you're the kind of person that you don't like violence, obviously to avoid this movie, because it does like show a lot of that, but in a very good way, in the sense that like the fighting scenes were really, really top notch. They were really good, well choreographed, and so it made this very pleasing to watch in that sense. What made this movie worth watching for me was this sense of alternate reality. And I don't know if anybody else felt that way watching this movie, but I certainly felt that way, in the sense that for anybody who's watched Harry Potter or anybody who like knows the genre called magic realism, which is basically a world within a world, right? It's a world where, there's a realistic view to things, right? There is still, New York Times Square, but at the same time, like, there are ferries flying around in New York Times Square, right? So it's that kind of idea of like Harry Potter, where Harry Potter is taking place in a real life Britain, right? It's taking place in a real life existing place, and it's using real life elements, but also there is like platform that's, 9 3/4. So there's that sense of magic even in real life, right? It's a train track that has, a space between 9 and 10 that has the space for the magic beings to go through to get to their own, train. And so this movie has that element of being a world within a world. There is this world that exists that's very different from the real life world. Right, it's very different from the world of normal Korea. It's a world where anything goes, it seems, right? It's a world of, assassins, and it seems almost because they mentioned this in the movie, that even though they are assassins, they have to follow rules, right? That's how this world is built. And so this is the world where Boksoon is, a member of. So she lives obviously in the real world because she has a daughter that is, tying out to the real world. But then when you see elements of her with other people, other assassins, you see a different kind of world that she's in. A world that clearly the people in it seem so tied to it. Like they would breathe, live, die for it, right? I mean, literally they die for it, right? For example, the scene where our boss's sister, right, which is like a mental case. That girl is literally crazy. She tells everybody, she basically puts a bounty on her head, on Boksoon's head, and tells people that she's up for grabs. Like, if you can kill her, you go to a higher level. And these are people that I assume they were her friends. Right, although I guess I shouldn't have assumed that, because the way they talk, the way they act, is clearly they are all very psychopathic in that sense, right? Even to themselves, like they are very harsh on themselves. And so when they tell them that she's up for bounty, like kill her and you get a higher level, everybody turns on her immediately. And it's to the point where I thought, okay, so they'll fight a few, and because Boksoon is obviously better than all of them, they'll realize that obviously they can't beat her or anything. But no, like, she has to kill every single one of them. And again, this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the world, in that as she kills every single one of them, there's almost a sense of ordinariness to it. Like, there's a sense of it just being a mundane act that she's doing, right? Even for the people that are being killed, right? She kills them, and like she's basically killing them, and they still continue fighting. They still, put on this act of like they must die for this, which was odd to me, but also shows that it's obviously a different world, a world that this is what matters, this is everything, right? And I mean, the guy she sleeps with kind of alludes to that, right? And he's even also willing to kill her, and she has to kill him as well, right? Because again, it's like do or die in this world, right? And so that's what makes this drama interesting, that there's almost that sense of this is not real life, this is not a real world, because it's a world within a world. It's a world that, yeah, it's Korea, yes, but not really Korea in that sense. And again, like the ease at which crimes are committed, like they don't even call it a crime, they don't call it a murder, they call it a show. Oh, you're going to put on a show, right? They've literally made this such an ordinary thing, an everyday thing, that it's kind of jarring for us the viewers to see that, right? And I mean, they have recruits, they have people that train for this, and you know, the young girl that and I feel like I see that girl way too often. She was in juvenile justice, she was like, I feel like she's been in a lot of things, and she fits the role she's playing in a lot of things, but she always goes for that dark, like she really cornered that world of like playing the, you know, dark young teenager character, and I like to see her in this. Like she was really good as well. And so yeah, like that's what made this drama so interesting, that I had to watch people basically be lackadaisical about killing people, right? Like they kill people for a living. Like there's a scene where Boksoon and her lover, quote unquote, he's basically like orchestrating how the guy will be found, right? He's basically like leaving the prints in the way. He's basically staging the murder scene, right? So that it looks right for like the police when they get there, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. Like that scene, for example, they take dead body right there and they just like talk about things. And it's ironic that they're talking about like her daughter and like very, very mundane things, right? And that's what makes this movie very jarring in that sense, and very, very interesting as well. But because, like I said, it's like she lives in a different world, she walks in a different world, right? And they give it even a different, I think, coloring, right? The tone, like the saturation of when she's doing something bad is very different from when she's like with her daughter and stuff like that, right? And it seems that Boksoon is getting a little tired of this world, right? It seems like she's, and I mean, Boksoon, when you think about her in a way, she's straddling two worlds, in the sense that because she has a daughter that lives in, I would say, the real world, Boksoon has to kind of straddle two worlds, in that, yeah, she's an assassin at night, or assassin when she has to be, but she's also the mom of this teenage girl that goes to school and, you know, has normal fights and stuff like that, right? And this is what starts to get to her, even though she says it's not because she has a daughter that, you know, she's quitting the job. That's kind of what is the motivation behind it, because I think, at least personally, that her daughter is kind of making her see the real world in a way that other recruits around her, other people that are assassins around her, cannot see it, right? You know, the scene where she realizes that the person that she has to kill is the son of the politician. Like the politician has basically put a hit on his son, right? She changes her mind in that moment, and clearly it's unheard of, because all the recruits say that, oh my god, what? But you never cancel a show, right? Like you've never done this before, right? And I think, yes, of course, it's also because her dad was a terrible person, like an abusive dad. But also, I think that she has begun to have a little bit of remorse, a little bit of guilt about what she's doing. Like she's beginning to see, I guess, that what she's doing is not right, right? And so when she tells her boss that you and I are going to hell, right? Yeah, definitely it might not be because of the daughter, but the daughter is adding an humane aspect to her that she doesn't know about, I felt like, right? It's funny because it's not like the daughter is like a terrible good person or anything. Like daughter is a lot like her in a sense, right? But still, her daughter is making her see things, I think, differently, that she can't kind of ignore bad stuff anymore in that sense. And yeah, like that was my take on why she was like, okay, no, I need to stop this. And, you know, because they never really like explain why she wants to stop. They just say she wants to stop. And yeah, I mean, I don't know why there was such a problem with her quitting. Yes, okay, so from the perspective of our boss, I understand why. Definitely, right? Because obviously he loves her and everything, and, you know, he doesn't want to see her leave, right? And I just have to say, because I didn't know this about myself, but so as I was watching the movie, they do a flashback to when he first meets Boksoon, right? And I maybe I should have heard, like when I heard the words, I should have known that it was a joke. But like when they showed Ijuk, I screamed so loud that like I was embarrassed by myself. Like I was so happy to see him that it was actually kind of embarrassing, like how much I was like how happy I was at that moment. And yeah, but that was something I remember being like, oh my god, I didn't know it was going to be in this movie. And it was just a pleasant surprise to see his face. Because I think his drama Royal Loader isn't coming out till like next year. Because I don't even know if they are filming, if they've started filming or not. But yeah, it was pleasant to see him. But yeah, basically I understand why the boss doesn't want her to like quit the job, because he's in love with her and all that like stuff. But his sister, who I did not know was his sister at first, gosh, oh my god, those two are like, ick value is times 10 million, because they make us watch siblings kiss before we realize they are siblings, and that's very, very gross. And they kind of snuck that in, that you don't know, because you just think, oh my god, like what is she? Because obviously, like when I first started watching the movie, like the first few scenes was her putting a leg on him, like even on his face. And I was like, okay, so I get that he's like the boss, clearly everybody fears him, right? But seeing her, I was like, okay, is she the mistress? Is she just like this hotsy person that's like, she can do anything because she's sleeping with the boss? Like, what is her role? And then at some point we find out that that's his sister. And like when Ijeok is saying it, I didn't put two and two together. But like later we find out that, oh my god, that's his sister that basically smooched it. Like that scene was so weird now that I think about it. And like I don't know why they had to add that in. But yeah, the sister is obviously mental. I would have liked to see their backstory, because obviously those two are not like normal. Like especially the sister, she's not a normal person. Because I don't know why she kept goading. Okay, well I know why. Because again, maybe she's jealous about the fact that her brother is in love with Boksoon. But still, to go down to the point where she kills you, like again, that's something this drama is doing that I don't know if I buy, in the sense that no one seems scared for their life. Right? Like no one is like, if I was the sister, I would be terrified of Boksoon. Like, okay, I could hate her and try and like plan her death or something, but not in the way she did it. She did it so offhandedly that like I was shocked that she, like, of course you would die. There's no way Boksoon is going to like take you seriously. And so I don't understand why they made her so suicidal in that sense. But yeah, I could not understand why she was so hateful to Boksoon. Obviously, it's because of the brother and blah blah blah. But like at first, I was like, what is her problem? Like, what is it? And actually, I would like to see a different movie that's like a prequel to just the boss and his sister. I mean, except the like icky part, right? Because I do want to see how they grew up. She's very interesting is that she's clearly a mental case. But how did she get to that point? Because her brother, the boss, seems kind of more okay in the head. But I also want to know how they started the business. Like, it's a very interesting concept they have going on in the background of this world they've basically built of like assassins, right? They could make more movies about this like story and this world. I would be interested in watching more of it, because they barely scratch the surface, and I think they have something here. But again, like it's Netflix, so they might not ever do anything with it. But I would be very, very interested in seeing more of this world, and just because again, it's just interesting to me how they all just do all these things and they don't think twice about it. It's very odd to me, but makes it very, very interesting that they could exist in such a world and all this is okay. I should probably give a shout out to John Do-yeon, because she plays Boksoon here and she's fantastic. I watched her in Crash Course and she's fantastic there too. And I hadn't heard of her before this. Like I hadn't known about her before I watched this movie. I do know that she was in Lost. Right. That's the only place I've seen her in. But other than that, it seems like she just popped out of nowhere in the past like 5 years. But yeah, she's fantastic in this. Very good. Very different. And I have to say, I like her smile. She has a very sneaky, very charismatic smile that actually I really like. She's very, very, very good in this role. And, thumbs up to her. But yeah, it was a really, really good movie. Definitely a good way to pass time. Like, if you've not seen it, you should check it out. But yeah, that's my review of Boksoon, which recently aired. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.